Carson, welcome back to Emmaus. How is you graduated year and a half ago now?
Year and a half ago, yeah.
How's it been?
It's been a crazy experience. It's nice to be able to go back home, but obviously you still miss different aspects about Emmaus and stuff like that, and you miss the community a lot, and also playing soccer 5 times a week, 6 times a week. Sometimes you definitely miss as well. But no, I'm happy to take what I learned from Emmaus and be able to apply it to kind of real life now and stuff like that. But I'm also happy to have the opportunity to be back and see the people that I went to school with and stuff like that. So.
Sure. So for those who don't know you, can you just remind us where you're from, and is that where you're back at now?
Yeah, so born and raised in New Jersey, specifically South Jersey, because there's a massive difference. Yeah, that's where I was born and raised, and that's where I'm at now. And that's where I will be at for the foreseeable future, unless God has different plans for me.
Yeah, awesome. So as one of the, I don't want to say the foremost alumni of the soccer program, but as someone who very much kind of characterized the culture of the team for the couple years or the several years that you were here, just tell me some more about what you feel like some of the most useful skills you gained during your time in Emmaus, whether it's soccer or classroom or community. Just tell me some about what you feel like you really got from your Emmaus experience.
The first thing that I got was I was finally taught how to play soccer the correct way, I guess you could say. Like growing up, it was always about who can score the most goals, and if someone pisses you off, how hard are you going to hit them, stuff like that. So like being able to come out to Emmaus and really just be able to change the experience and my mindset to how I should be playing soccer. A lot of that was credited to you and Ben as the 2 assistant and head coaches when I was here. And so just the fact of like, ultimately soccer is such a stupid game. Like it's so much fun, but at the same time it's so stupid because it brings out the worst in us.
Right.
And ultimately soccer is a gift to be glorifying Christ with other believers and non-believers. And so that's what I was taught. That was one of the biggest things that I learned, and I was so thankful for that opportunity and that lesson to be able to learn that. A couple other things that I learned while I was here, being a captain for 3 of the years, you learn a lot about a lot of different people. One of the things is like not everyone reacts positively to the same thing. Some people react differently. Basically, everybody's different. So you can't just have one approach towards everything. You have to have multiple different approaches tailor-made to the specific people and how they're going to react and stuff like that.
Right.
But those were probably two of the bigger things that I learned. You mentioned community. I also learned about community too, like what it should look like the soccer community and like what Ben and you helped build. Like yes, we had a lot of fun playing soccer, but the community that we had was even better. It's not like at the end of the day, if we lost, we didn't want to talk to each other, or we were furious at each other. No, we were still able to come together and hang out and do whatever we want to do and just do life. Partially because of the fact that soccer isn't life. It's not it shouldn't dictate how you feel for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week, and things of that nature. And so being able to have that community and be able to come back to one another even when we're struggling or even when we're happy, it was just an absolutely incredible blessing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you talk about the blessing of being here. Tell us some about how you felt like you developed and grew in your faith while you were here.
Oh, yeah. I was definitely a baby Christian when I came out here, without a doubt. And I was humbled pretty quickly. Pretty quickly.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by being a baby Christian or being humbled when you came here?
Yeah, so I accepted Christ when I was 15, 16 years old. And so I was involved in a church, but I never really took my faith seriously. It wasn't until Emmaus that I really started taking my faith seriously, and that started on the soccer field. Just because the soccer field is my form of evangelism, if you could say. It's the easiest way for me to be able to communicate with others, both believers and non-believers. You find that commonality in soccer, and then you kind of just run with it from there. And that was kind of what helped me become less of a baby Christian and start to actually grow and mature in my faith. It helped the fact of being on a soccer team, being able to see what strong, mature Christian men look like. not only my coaches but my teammates as well. Like, I mean, Elijah Barsness is a great example of that, and being able to have that example constantly around me and be able to grow and kind of learn from him was just absolutely incredible throughout my time here.
You've talked a lot about the you've talked a lot about the community side and the way that you grew in your faith as well, and in soccer. But Emmaus is a college, and you got a 4-year degree here. And tell me some about how you feel like your studies here prepared you for your career, prepared you for the job you have now, or the job that you want to have, and how maybe being involved in athletics maybe prepared you for that as well.
Yeah. So I got a degree in business administration. And so I took 3.5 years of that here because I had some community college experience. And well, the first thing is that with the academics here, you could tell that every single teacher cares for you here. And that is such a massive thing that you don't see at other colleges, because of the fact that, other colleges are teaching in 250 kid classrooms, and maybe that may be the public colleges, but even some of the other private Christian colleges, you're still teaching 40 to 50 kids a classroom. And being able to have a teacher truly care about you and want what's best for you, not just to graduate, but to also check on you and see how you're doing spiritually and mentally, like those are huge, huge aspects. And so being able to have that here, being able to have every single class be biblically integrated. So even though it was business, we were still discussing how business would look like from a non-Christian perspective and then from a Christian perspective. And being able to differentiate the two of those things has helped me transition that into my life now. Right now I work at a bank, and there's definitely some ethics that go on in a bank when it comes to stupid stuff as little as fees, but also stuff that goes on with like fraudulent activity and things like that. So being able to take some of that and what I had learned to the bank and to that side has really been a huge help. Also being a soccer coach back home as well. Not necessarily taking what I learned in the academic classroom, but kind of what I was taught by, you guys as a leader, as a captain for those years, that each kid is different in their own right, and you need to be able to figure out how to be able to best speak to those kids to be able to get the most out of them, and that's kind of been some of the biggest things that I've taken away from my time and academics here at Emmaus.
Do you have any, like, if someone's thinking about maybe coming to Emmaus to play soccer, or in general just to come here, what advice would you give them for that college search process, or specifically about Emmaus? Or what kind of thoughts did you have for that?
Well, for me, I might not have the traditional Emmaus story, going from thinking that I was going to a community college to then jumping into Emmaus that summer, like being able to go from, hey, I'm spending my time in New Jersey and now I'm going to Iowa for the first time in my life. I would say that, obviously, pray about your decision making. That's obviously the number one thing. But like, don't be afraid to take a leap. Like, taking this leap and getting out of my comfort zone was the best decision I've ever made in my life. And so by being able to have that, like, it's just, you don't know until you really just put yourself out there and allow yourself to be vulnerable, I guess you could say. Experience new things, stuff like that. When it comes to like a soccer perspective, I know that we talk about that the community's good, and we haven't necessarily talked about the play style or maybe the deepers when it comes to soccer. Like, you're still here to play collegiate soccer. That's what it is. You're not here to be pushovers. You're here to represent Christ, and that way that you represent Christ is to give 115% every single second that you're out on the field. It's not a walk in the park. We're still a collegiate program, and that was one of my favorite things about it, is because we found a good balance, a really good balance of Christian life and still being able to to give it our all. Because there's definitely times that as a Christian you're just like, oh, well, you should not play as hard, because then you won't like hurt people, and then you'll be more Christ-like. But that's actually not what we're called to do. We're called to not waste our gifts. And if God's blessed you with these gifts, that's what you should be exploring and growing and taking advantage of, and trying to learn and grow as much as you possibly can. So I know that was a lot, but to kind of like wrap it all up, I would say pray without ceasing when it comes to your decision. Be okay with being uncomfortable going to a new place. Yeah, I think those are kind of like the two main things that I would kind of start with when it comes to when you're going through your college journey.
Sure. So last question, if you could make one selling point for Emmaus to a prospect who's kind of on the fence, maybe, what would you say?
Come.
Just do it.
Just do it. No, like
why? One reason why.
The community is something that you'll never see anywhere else, and that's how it is. And you know, this recruit that I may be speaking to, you may not know what that community looks like, but I can promise you, hands down, that is the best community you'll ever experience in your life. You have, first of all, especially if you're coming in as a freshman, you already have a group that you can cling on to. You have, 15, 18 guys that like you're already super tight with right off the bat. So because you have that, now it's not as maybe awkward as it may be if it was just 60 freshmen coming in and you're just like, I don't know who to talk to. So the fact that you have that community right off the bat, and then the more that you start to get into classes and stuff like that, that community continues to grow. You get your homework done and stuff like that, but the majority of the time that you're here, you are spending time with your friends, which ultimately turn into your brothers, and that's the best part. The community is by far the best community I've ever experienced in my life, and that's what I would say to people coming in is you're never going to find a community better than that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, Carson. Thanks for just taking a few minutes to chat. It's good to see you while you're in town.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not the last time you're in town. You'll come by and
I hope not, yeah.
Maybe come catch a game this fall or next year or whenever there's an opportunity. I hear it's beautiful out of the field come October. So,
hey, I mean, if there's an alumni game, I'd definitely love to come back and teach the kids a thing or two.
Yeah. One way or another.
One way or another, exactly. Yeah.
Of course. Well, awesome.